Do you know about the lions that are in a very specific part of Africa where the river branched off and left them on an island with only buffalo?
We discussed this last
Yes.
time. I don't know if it was on the podcast or in the back there, but that's how I learned more about it chatting with you last time. I remember we looked it up.
There's a great documentary for people who don't know about. It's called Relentless Enemies. And it's these enormous lions. These lions have evolved to only kill buffalo. So the female lions are as big as regular male lions.
It's just jacked. Yeah.
They look fake. They look like bodybuilder lions.
They do.
And all they do, and what's weird, this is what's really weird about the documentary. There's several packs that live on this island, but one pack has these enormous super lions, and then there's another pack of regular sized lions.
Really?
Yeah.
So does that pride of the supersized lions, are they dominant over the other one, or are they just preying on different species?
I don't know.
It's interesting.
I don't know, but I found it weird that one pack evolved and became enormous.
Right.
And then the other pack just kind of didn't.
Selective breeding, right? If you're big and jacked, hang out over here and eat buffalo. If you're wimpy, go over there.
Lion, go hang out over there. But what's crazy also is that how recently it took place. That it was, I think it was less than 100 years that the river had switched, and that these animals started to adapt. And they put on, they literally are twice the size of a normal female lion.
It's crazy.
And it's huge. But also, they're only eating buffalo.
Right.
I bet if you ate water buffalo every day, you just get jacked by default.
I'd look like The Rock.
Yeah, you would, bro. You should do it. It's carnivore month coming in July.
I think those things often rise and fall, and we're in a state where we understand it. What I mean by that is, so the river changes. You've got nothing but lions and buffalo. Lions get bigger and bigger and bigger. Eventually, they get to the point where they wipe out all the buffalo because it's not sustainable. Then the lions collapse. So what's cool is that we can actually see that in action, right? Over our lifespan, we can see this generational change in the lions. It might not collapse. It could last tens of thousands of years, but it's interesting that you can actually see it taking place. It's evolution in action, basically.
Yeah. There's a documentary from the BBC about the Congo that gets into that, and they talk about how quickly the rainforest had grown, and what used to be grasslands became this enormous, dense rainforest, and a lot of these animals that were plains animals had to figure out a way to survive, and so they adapted. And they were talking about the diker, that little tiny little antelope
deer-looking thing
swims underwater for as much as 100 yards and eats fish.
Isn't that crazy? They've got exactly. I mean, you just summed it up. It's nuts.
A fucking antelope that eats fish,
right? And can hold its breath and free dive.
God, nature's crazy.
Nature is metal.
Have you always been fascinated by nature? I mean, you obviously are now, but what a perfect career you have.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have the perfect job, and I have. From when I was a little kid, so growing up in Zimbabwe, my family owned safari businesses. That was what we did. But when you're a little kid in the bush in Zimbabwe, you can't just go out running around, so you're kind of stuck in camp. So I'd be the one flipping over logs and grabbing earthworms and catching snakes. And
the way you just said can't, I heard South Africa.
There you go. It's the hard A's.
Every now and then it pops out.
Yep, it's the hard A's.
You mostly blend in.
I try. But yeah, no, I started young, and it's just been my driving force since I was a little kid.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, it's such an amazing subject, and there's so much to look at. You will never run out of things to study.
Never.
I mean,
and you never stop learning. Like today, I learned about the wasps and the bees. Like I consider myself pretty well read in the field of wildlife. That's all new to me. I'm going to go home. I'm going to Google it. It's just so fantastic. It never ends.
Do you know about the bees in Nepal that make psychedelic honey?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Wild.
And how they harvest that honey?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, pull up like some video or some images of that, because these guys are risking their life to trip balls on this crazy honey.
Yeah.
What are they, what's the pollen that they're getting it from? What are they getting it that's
I don't
causing
know.
it to be psychedelic?
All I know is what you just said, which is it's the pollen that they're creating the honey out of that is making it psychedelic, but I don't know what it is.
I want to trip balls on that honey.
There you go.
Can you imagine?
Go lick some honey off a cliff in Nepal and see what happens.
It must be really good. I mean, if you can get honey other places, but this honey makes you trip, I wonder what the actual psychoactive substance in the honey is.
No idea.
I've never even looked into it.
Yeah.
What does it say, Jamie? But these guys, they've apparently decided it's worth rappelling down the side of these mountains because it grows off the side of cliffs.
Yeah, it looks like big shelf fungus. It grows out horizontally off these vertical cliffs.
Yeah, and as these guys are harvesting it, right, they're hanging on ropes from cliffs, getting lit up by bees,
and then popping psychedelic honey in their mouth.
So it's worth it, man. Do 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 do. Now, when you got something?
The speculation on it was that maybe the higher altitudes allow this neurotoxin to develop called gray anotoxin, which is in it. It's called red honey specifically.
Ooh, well, you can buy it?
It says the potency diminishes over time, so it might not last that long.
You got to get it fresh.
Right, yeah.
Interesting.
White rhododendrons
click on that again, please.
We have rhododendrons, probably different family here, as pretty plants around California.
Oh, it's just that's just a descriptive of the actual
but
plant.
It might be that specific one in the altitude because it stays up there, lack of oxygen. I don't know.
So it's exported from Nepal to Japan, Korea, and Hong Kong. The red honey is prized for its purported medicinal value and intoxicating qualities, and are attributed to this gray nanotoxin present in the nectar collected from white rhododendrons. The